The woman began to change after drinking a vial of blue serum. First, strange spikes grew from her elbows. She gained the ability to scale walls and rooftops. She wanted to reverse the effects of the drug, but she discovered that she had become the key to saving humanity. Welcome to the latest sci-fi film, Restoration. In a distant future, Earth's pollution has become increasingly severe. The air is also filled with deadly toxins. Ehira Technologies has developed a drug called Arum, which helps people breathe clean air, but not everyone can afford it. The medication has not been officially put into use either. The protagonist, Ella, is a model under Ashira. Her mother committed suicide a year ago. The anniversary of death is approaching. Ella is in a bad mood. Her boyfriend, Max, and her best friend, Gina, are planning to confess to her about their affair. Gina remembered that Ella's mother's death anniversary was approaching. They decided to postpone it for a few days first. Max and his partner are preparing for tonight's party. They went to the drug dealer to buy some excitement. They are turned away at the door. Gina makes an excuse to go to the bathroom. She squeezed into the drug dealer's house with Max. Gina hid in the bathroom for half a day without coming out. The dealer goes to check on her, and Max takes the opportunity to sneak into the warehouse. Unexpectedly, stumbled upon a drug manufacturing workshop. It seems they are experimenting with some blue liquid. After one of them drank a drop, he instantly displays a look of enjoyment. Max thinks this might be some good stuff, and he quietly takes a vial. On the other side, Ella finished work and went home. She was lost in thought as she looked at the magazine her mother used to shoot. She was now adored in the advertising world, which was mainly due to her mother's fame. At that moment, her father called via video chat. At this moment, he is far away in Africa defending the impoverished population. Can't be with my daughter on my wife's death anniversary. He could only comfort Ella through the call, telling her not to stay alone tonight, and to go out and talk to friends. After some hesitation, Ella decided to attend her boyfriend Max's party. Meanwhile, he were hiding in the bathroom with Gina, getting ready to try out the new stuff they just got. Unexpectedly, they were caught by Ella before they could act. She was betrayed by his good friend and boyfriend, which put Ella in a bad mood. The three of them got into a huge argument. Max chose to go after the departing Gina. Ella saw the test tube they had left behind, and she picked it up and drank it all. This was not a drug, but rather a biological agent still under development. If consumed in high doses, it could trigger a lethal immune response. Eric, the head of Ashira, had been testing the synthetic formula 63, but each time, the lab mice died during the neutralization phase. Fortunately, Ella's body has been tested. She forced herself to get up and sit in the bathtub. A huge transformation was happening within her body. Soon after, Max discovered that the vial of new stuff had been left in the bathroom. He was about to go back to get it when he ran into the dealer arriving. Max rushed into the bathroom, and Ella quickly hid in the bathtub. Upon hearing the noise, Max got beaten up because he couldn't find the drug. He can only explain that it must have been taken away by someone at the party. The dealer immediately took his men out to search. Only then did Ella dare to climb out of the bathtub. She told Max that I had already drunk that medicine. Max rushed out to lock the door, and it was clear he was preparing to snitch. Soon, Max returned with the dealer, but Ella was nowhere to be found. The dealer thought he had been tricked, and he grabbed Max, ready to teach him a lesson. Unexpectedly, Max took the opportunity to grab a handgun. He pointed the gun and made threats, but he didn't have the nerve to shoot. He was quickly tackled by the dealer. After a struggle, Max accidentally shot himself in the thigh. The dealer worried that the gunshot would attract the police, and they quickly abandoned Max and left the party. One of the women even helped him bandage his wound. Not long after, Max regained consciousness. He saw Ella hiding in the ceiling. He quickly asked her, "How did you get up there?" But Ella didn't know either. She was just following her body's instincts. Max noticed the red marks on Ella's wrist, and quickly asked what they were. Ella retorted, "Wasn't that drug brought by you? How was I to know it would cause such a big reaction?" After saying this, she went to pick the lock, but after fiddling for a long time, it didn't work. Frustrated, Ella punched the door panel, and surprisingly, she smashed a big hole in the door. She stepped out of the room to check the situation, only to find that the group had not yet left. Ella had to look for another way out. She stepped on the bathtub, and shattered the reinforced glass. She threw the mask to Max, and led him to climb out through the skylight. Ella made a light leap, and jumped to another building. Max tried to imitate her, but nearly fell to his death. It was clear that Ella's body was evolving. The dealer, who heard the noise and caught up, happened to witness this scene. Max panicked when he saw the pursuers. he fell directly downstairs. The dealer tried to talk to Ella, wanting to know how much of the drug she had ingested. He even said, "We can help you." Unfortunately, Ella did not trust him. She jumped downstairs directly to check on Max's situation. Gina accused Ella, asking her why push Max down. Ella got up and ran away. Because the dealers were still trying to catch her, Ella nimbly climbed over the yard and narrowly avoided being hit by a passing car. The person in the car was her suitor, David. Seeing Ella faint, David picked her up and drove away. However, this David was no gentleman. He took Ella home and wanted to do something bad. Unexpectedly, Ella suddenly regained consciousness. She scratched David's face. Ella noticed that sharp spikes were growing from her elbows. David, frightened, bolted out the door. She hurried to the bathroom to check. She discovered that her body was undergoing mutations. Ella grabbed scissors and cut off the spikes. She rushed to the hospital for help, but the nurse was startled when she saw her face. She immediately decided to implement isolation measures. Ella didn't want to be locked up, so she had to escape. The security guard behind her was about to pursue. She climbed up to the ceiling to hide. After the guard left, Ella hurriedly made her exit. At the same time, Eric learned that the dealer was chasing a girl. Moreover, from David's testimony at the police station, he noted that she was highly likely to have undergone mutations. At this point, Ella had no home to return to, so she could only turn to her best friend, Gina. Gina ran away as soon as she saw her. Ella chased after Gina and caught her. She explained that she didn't push Max, and that there was something wrong with the drug. She needed help now. Finally, Gina agreed to take Ella in. Ella checked her body in the mirror, and she found that the mutations were still ongoing. Moreover, she was very hungry. She rummaged through the fridge for some food to heat up. Ella asked Gina if she knew the effects of that vial, but this thing was stolen by two people. How could Gina possibly understand the effects of the medication? Ella wants to turn on the microwave. She broke the door off with a little effort. Just then, the phone rang. Someone called using Max's phone, saying that he knew all about the changes Ella was experiencing. He claimed he could help her. They arranged to meet at the silo at 3 o'clock. Ella can only take the risk to keep the appointment. Soon, a man in black named York appeared. After confirming Ella's identity, he immediately kidnapped him with his helpers. Fortunately, Gina was able to track Ella's location through her phone. She risked her car and followed him, and the one who abducted Gina. It was the drug dealer who said he could help on the rooftop before.
Jesus, Alex.
She needs food.
Is there an immune reaction?
If there was, she'd be dead by now.
When Gina woke up from her unconsciousness, she found herself tied to a chair. Her mutations had become more severe. Just a slight thought. Spikes grew from her wrists, cutting the bindings. Ella was driven by a wave of hunger, and she tore open the raw meat on the table and began to eat. The two men heard the noise and came to check. Ella grabbed a kitchen knife for protection. The two dealers tried to explain, saying they were actually scientists persecuted by Ashira, working to crack and upgrade the Arium drug, so that everyone could breathe clean air. But Ella was not in the mood to listen to anything. Just as the three were arguing, a group of armed police arrived. York handed the last vial to the female scientist, urging her to escape through the back door. He stayed behind to continue persuading Ella, but the police quickly broke in, arresting him on charges of murdering Max. York on the side was also arrested as an accomplice. Gina watched as the police moved in, and she no longer knew whom to trust. Subsequently, Ella was detained in a detention center. She helplessly scratched the ulcerated side of her face. She actually ripped her ears off. The human characteristics on Ella were gradually decaying, and she was growing new ears, resembling those of an elf. She complained to the male scientist for turning her into a monster, but he explained that with the deterioration of the atmosphere, in 2 years, the entire world would have to rely on Arium. Ashira Company, in order to make money, refused to disclose the formula. Those who couldn't afford the drug would have to die. However, the drug in Ella had successfully passed the tests, and she was the hope to save all humanity. Eric arrived at the cell. He has broad vision, and is already in cahoots with the police. Eric said, "I can help you return to normal." Then he took the two of them to a car. They arrived at a certain medical center, and the female scientist followed nearby on a motorcycle. At this point, Eric was ready to conduct a full-body examination on Ella, starting by injecting her with an anesthetic. As Ella's consciousness faded, she overheard their conversation. The doctor mentioned that her metabolism was 20% faster than that of a normal person, and she had very few neutrophils, indicating that some of the tissues in her body were certainly foreign. After carefully studying her DNA sequence, he confirmed that it definitely did not belong to humanity. Ella perfectly digested the experiments, that Eric had consistently failed, and there had been no adverse reactions. Eric never expected that a third-rate scientist from a family workshop was able to achieve success ahead of himself. He wanted to monopolize her experimental results, and combining it with his existing research, he was confident that he could lead humanity to evolution. When that time came, no one would be able to shake Ashira Company's position, but scientists are unwilling to assist the tyrant, believing that this technology should be made publicly available for free to the world. Eric had no right to decide who lived and who died. On the other side, Ella woke up from the anesthesia. Eric told her, "Your genes have been reorganized, and the enzymes produced in your body can neutralize atmospheric toxins. This means that Ella is now completely immune to toxins." Eric claimed, "As long as you cooperate with my research project, you will definitely benefit all of humanity." He also promised that after obtaining the genetic formula, he would only experiment on animals like gorillas, and only put it on the market after ensuring there were no risks. Ella couldn't help but ask back when she heard this, "Why didn't that dealer scientist just give you the genetic formula directly?" Eric falsely claimed that the scientist was short-sighted, only wanting to protect his patent and make money. Ella quickly signed the consent form, and she was locked in a closed glass chamber. Outside the glass, Eric was reporting progress to his father, stating that Ella's toxin resistance was 20 times that of the existing Arium products. If she can survive the extraction surgery, let's separate the gene formula, and Ashira will hold the power of life and death over everyone. The old chairman stated that Ella must be dealt with afterward, because her father was a British diplomat, and Ashira's plans could never be allowed to leak. The father and son were discussing important matters in great detail, unaware that Ella's hearing had already evolved. She can hear all the conversation through the reinforced glass. When Eric sensed that something was wrong, he immediately pressed a button, causing a large amount of sedative to be released into the enclosed chamber. Ella fainted. Meanwhile, the female scientist stole a truck, disguising herself as a transport worker, to enter the medical center. 2 staff members entered the sealed room, preparing to transfer Ella to the operating room. Ella immediately asked where the scientist was being held. The surveillance room staff finally noticed the situation, and triggered the alarm, but at that moment, Ella had already reached the basement. Before she could break down the door to rescue, a muscular security guard burst onto the scene. Ella hid in the ceiling, and seized the opportunity to knock him down. She lifted her shirt to show the scientist her back. The mutations had spread all over her body. The two of them went to the back door, planning to escape through the ventilation shaft. Ella climbed up the wall like Spider-Man. She reached out and pulled the scientist into the exit. On the other hand, Eric learned of Ella's escape. He left behind his youngest son who had just arrived by plane. He hurriedly returned to the medical center. Meanwhile, the female scientist was placing timed explosives everywhere. Eric's assistant quickly detected the bomb threat. They had to evacuate immediately. Eric immediately gave the order, "Release the mass toxic gas in 15 minutes. At the same time, the scientist took Ella into the laboratory, prepared to take away Aram's active ingredients. It was then that Ella realized that her body had fused with dragonfly genes. No wonder she had developed insect-like tarsal bones. The scientist introduced that this South African dragonfly was the only species on Earth not affected by atmospheric toxins. However, it was already on the brink of extinction, and the active ingredients were all in Eric's hands. After obtaining the drug, the two evacuated, and they encountered the female scientist along the way. Ella quickly realized that the gas was spreading, and they immediately headed toward the garage to evade their pursuers. The three of them ran into the bathroom to take cover. They saw Eric's son Mike in the cubicle, and Ella did her best to comfort the boy and take him with her. Unexpectedly, they were intercepted by Eric along the way, and the madman fired a shot without caring for his son's safety. Ella instinctively protected Mike. She then jumped down to the opposite floor. She quickly met up with the scientist in the elevator, and soon after, a truck burst out of the garage. Eric's men immediately shot through the tires to intercept, but Ella and the scientist are not inside. They were tricked. At this moment, Ella cut through the protective net and fled southeast. Scientists know that running away again is not a solution. He handed the active ingredients to Ella, telling her to go to the grain warehouse to find Lazarus. That person had the formula and could develop more drugs. Ella glanced at him before jumping off the cliff. When Eric arrived, scientists lied that Ella had fallen to her death. Eric could only take him away. and he intended to force the scientist to recreate the reagent. However, at midnight, a figure with dragonfly wings appeared on the horizon once again. The film ended here, a niche science fiction film from South Africa, and the themes of genetic mutation and pharmaceutical company conspiracies are no longer novel. However, the combination with dragonfly genes was quite fascinating. The protagonist's image also suited the character's setting well, but unfortunately, it was a low-budget film, with limited investment in special effects, and it did not showcase the details of the dragonfly woman's birth. From the ending, it seems there will be a sequel. Let's look forward to the development of the next installment together. If you enjoy my channel, please click subscribe.